Hello my loves, welcome back. Today we will be finally doing a sewing D.I.Y.M.F.S revamp video. This is an easy video to follow, hopefully. We will be turning this Burberry vintage skirt into a classic pleated mini skirt. So today you're going to need a seam ripper, a thread snipper, and fabric scissors to start. And the first thing you want to do is remove all your snaps, buttons, and any hook and eye closures that are on your waistband on your skirt. So you're just going to go ahead and seam rip and cut all of that off. And you can save those pieces for later, or you can replace them with new pieces. Now you want to go ahead and remove your waistband. You can use your seam ripper or your thread snipper tools to go ahead and detach your waistband from your skirt body. Now you want to go ahead and separate your lining from your waist and your zipper. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to cut that away, and I'm going to take it all the way around. If you want to save your fabric, you can seam rip it, but to save time, I use my scissors. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull the lining out. And then I'm going to detach the lining from the zipper and take it all out. And I'm going to save my lining and put it aside for later, because I want to use all my labels. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the zipper completely. And the zipper, it's unusable, so I'm just going to throw out the zipper and replace it with a new one. From here, you're going to go ahead and open all of the pre-existing pleats with your seam ripper. So this was very time consuming, but it did give me all of the fabric that I needed to use, because when I opened each pleat, I had an extra 4 inches of fabric for each pleat. So now you can see that the fabric is open, and I have about 2 yards of fabric to work with, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and take a lint brush and remove all of my hanging threads to make sure that the garment is nice and clean. So now I'm going to go ahead and iron out my fabric. And I want to stress, you never want to let your iron touch your fabric. So I use a piece of muslin and place it over my fabric and then iron. Okay? Now let's get into measurements. So my current fabric width is 82 inches. My client has a waist of 39 inches. I'm going to add 2 inches for seam allowance, which is going to give me 41 inches. 41 inches times 2 just so happens to be 82 inches. So I just made it. But I do want to make a disclaimer that when you're making a pleated skirt, you need to times your waist measurements by 3. So I don't have enough, but I'm going to make it work. My fabric length right now is 33 inches. My client wants a skirt of 16 inches long, but I do want to create a 2-inch waistband on this garment. So that means the skirt body has to be 14 inches plus ½ inch seam allowance. Skirt body is 14.5 inches. I know, that's a lot of information. So if you're a visual person like me, here is a diagram I created for you. 14-inch body, 2-inch waistband, 16-inch total. I'm gonna go ahead and cut across the 82 inches all the way. And I'm I'm gonna go ahead and start pleating my fabric. So you want to start your pleats 2 inches away from your fabric edge. My pleat depth is going to be 1.5 inches for each pleat. Normally I would go ahead and measure the distance of my pleats, but I'm using what I have, so I'm just going to make it work. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew a horizontal single needle top stitch 2 inches long on top of each pleat. So you're just going to go ahead and take that to your sewing machine. And now what I'm going to do is double fold my bottom hem 1/2 inch wide. I'm going to go ahead and secure that with pins and sew it. I honestly should have sewed my hem before I pleated the skirt. So you can just sew and double fold your hem twice to make it 1/2 inch wide before you add your pleats, just to make it easier so you're not, sewing a hem and trying to fold your pleats away just to get your hem correctly sewn. But, I was able to do it. But to follow practice, go ahead and do it properly. So here is the garment all fully sewn. The pleats are sewn down, it is fully hemmed, and it is coming along very nicely. What I'm gonna do now is remove all of the pre-existing labels and put them aside for later, because I want to sew them back into the garment. Now we're going to start with the waistband, which must be 41 inches long. And again, I want a finished waistband height of 2 inches wide. So that means I have to make my waistband 4 inches wide plus 1/2 inch seam allowance on each side. So that means my waistband height has to be 5 inches wide and 41 inches long. I'm gonna go ahead and take my measuring tape. I'm gonna measure across the 41 inches. And I'm gonna cut it. Then I'm gonna measure down 5 inches and cut it. And then I'm gonna take the waistband and fold it in half to give me the 2 inches that I need. Okay, so here is my waistband. It is folded down 2 inches wide. I did go ahead and overlock and serge my edges just so that it's nice and pretty and clean. I'm gonna go ahead and take my labels and play around with them to see where I want them sewn down. And now what I'm gonna do is reattach all of my labels. Then I'm gonna pin my waistband to my skirt and sew a 1/2 inch straight stitch. All right, guys, and here comes the moment of truth, because remember, we had to take 82 inches and pleat it down to 41 inches. So it should line up exactly with my waistband with no issue, and it did. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure all my measurements are correct, and they are. And just remove any hanging threads to make sure that the garment is nice and neat. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and place all of my dry cleaning labels at the center back. And then I'm gonna go ahead and sew a 1 inch straight stitch at the center back below my zipper opening. Okay, so now here is my garment sewn down at the center back, and I have my dry cleaning label, I have my size label, and now we're gonna go ahead and place the most important label, which is the Burberry label. I think it was cute and important to place all the labels back because I want my client to feel like, you know, this is still a Burberry Jespere remix, okay? Still Burberry skirt. Now let's get into sewing this zipper. You're gonna go ahead and hand sew a base stitch to your zipper for security. You wanna make sure that your base stitch thread is something super bright that you can see while you're sewing. So you wanna make sure it's a different color from your garment, a bright red, a bright blue, a bright yellow. I'm gonna go ahead and take my pins and pin my zipper into place first. Now I'm gonna go ahead and hand sew big stitches. Your stitch per inch should be about 2 inches per stitch. Like, you want these stitches to be very wide so you can easily pull them out. So now you're gonna go ahead and remove all of your pins, and you see how your base stitch keeps your zipper in place without all the pins being in your way. You're gonna go ahead and take that to your sewing machine, and now I can just pull out that thread, that base stitch, and look how neat my zipper is. I'm so sorry guys, I'm gonna come back and do a zipper video for you guys because this zipper was just too good. It's really nice, really clean and visible zipper. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. Thread my needle, pin my zipper in place, hand sew my base stitch, which is what I'm doing now. And please forgive me for my angles. I'm still learning these YouTube angles and how to do a sewing tutorial. And I'm also thinking about bringing my sewing machine in as well. So now that my zipper is fully sewn into place, I'm gonna go ahead and sew in a hook and eye closure at the center back waistband above my zipper. This just ensures that my client's skirt stays closed and fastened when she is walking, if she is dancing, whatever she is doing. And it's important to use matching color thread when sewing in your hook and eye. And for this, I chose silver hook and eyes because that is what I had on hand. And once your hook and eyes are in, you are done. And this is my bomb-ass client. Shout out to her. She looked wonderful in the skirt. She killed this look like she kills every look. Thank you so much, girl. Shout out to you. And yes, enjoy, my loves. Make sure you hit that comment button, subscribe, and like and share. Enjoy, my loves. Thank you so much for watching.